Welcome, everybody, to a joint venture between the Fact Check This podcast and the Two Tongues podcast. It was going to be exclusively a Two Tongues podcast event, but Streamlabs sucks. We're getting rid of it. I'm making an executive decision. We're moving to StreamYard. We had some technical difficulties, but here we are with the man, Justin Campbell. How you doing, buddy?
Doing well. And interestingly enough, I've been wanting to get you on my show anyway, so we just kind of backdoored our way into that.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's funny how things work out, huh?
So let me get some copy the links and stuff, and we can put that on Twitter and let people know where we're doing this, since had a little change of plan at the last second.
Yes, indeed. Well, while you're doing that, I just want to wish everybody an official start to White Boy Summer. I don't know if you guys knew, but Cinco de Mayo is the official beginning of White Boy Summer. So that's why I've got the hat on backwards. I got my sunglasses on. I'm drinking a beer, if I can find it. Oh, it's right here in front of my face. I'm drinking a beer. I'm going to throw in a Zin eventually. We're just going, it's White Boy Summer. We're doing it, man. And that kind of plays into what we're going to be talking about here a little bit. We got some crazy things going on,
man. Yeah. The kickoff to the summer here with the way that, because it's finals week. I mean, it's finals week across the country. So everybody's especially the White Boy Summer kids, they are gearing up and getting ready to start their summer breaks. Trying to power through the end of the year. It's that time of year. It's getting fun. I had to go pick up my stepdaughter before we started this, and as soon as she got in the truck, she was like, "Only 2 more weeks of school." I was like, I'm aware. I can't wait for it any more than y'all can. Because we have our own White Boy Summer plans. There's a little theme park down the road that has some really good rides and a nice big water park and stuff. And so that was everybody's Christmas present for me this year, was season passes. So
as
soon as the wave pools and everything open up, we're going to be out there just
going to be in there.
Yeah. Broing it up.
Riding the tide. Hell yeah, man. I haven't been to a theme park in forever. Part of that is because up until recently, I have been too fat to get on the roller coasters. So that sucks. But I think I'm down enough that I could get on there. I was never like huge fat. I was never they have the fatagories. I was never like a super fat or anything like that. But just a little too chubby to get that lap belt on. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, maybe I'll have to go to Cedar Point, man. America's rock and roller coast.
Oh hell yeah! I have the problem of I push the upper limits on height on some rides. It's like, if you're taller than this, your feet might get clipped off on this thing. So, and even the ones that I'm technically short enough to ride, I still if it's the feet dangling thing, I'm tucking my feet up under me the whole time. I'm not letting anything hang. I don't trust it. I like my legs.
Don't want to lose the feet, man. That's important,
And I'm mostly legs. I'm better than I have a very short torso. I'm all legs. So yeah, I might qualify for the height limit on this thing, but my legs are very long. So
yep. So to get into what we're going to be talking about today, just to start back at what kicked all of this off, we have to, I'm going to take my hat off. We're going to get very solemn for this. I'll take the sunglasses off too. A very tragic day in American history. Tragic. One of the most devastating days in American history. October 7th, 2023. A date which will live in infamy. Hamas attacked America, basically. They basically attacked America, Justin. I don't know if you know that.
This is 9/11 2.0.
Exactly. It's a serious event. And ever since then, there's been protests, on the college campuses. It's been mostly Palestinian protests, a bunch of blue hairs and, various other kinds of mutants, you know, singing songs and trashing things. And there's been some interesting developments over the last few days, and it's that they're starting to get some counter protests. And basically, what was it, Old Miss, that that main one that there was all the footage from?
Yeah, Ole Miss has been the big one that's caused the most controversy because you had the one dude that was like chimping out. You had the guy in the American flag overalls. That's the one that has gotten the most pushback, I guess. But also because they were being or the way it's being portrayed is they were targeting some poor black chick that was just trying to peacefully protest. Never mind that she was like screaming at them the whole time and may have even instigated the entire incident. But like that's the reason that they're all in the news. I don't know if do you follow Antonio Brown, former NFL wide receiver? He does his nigga of the day, and the boy from Ole Miss was his nigga of the day for today.
All right, that's hilarious. So for her being the victim in this, she was like awfully close to a bunch of dangerous white men yelling things at her. Like, why are you getting so close to them? There was like a big gap behind her, between her and her fellow protesters. So what's that all of? That seems kind of aggressive, doesn't it?
She probably would have been safer with a bear, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe a couple bears.
So I was reading on the Ole Miss thing, and like the protesters were they were there legally, like they had their permits to protest and everything, and they were like barricades set up. And so as long as they stayed inside the barricades, like they were allowed to have their protest. And supposedly these illegal counter protesters were causing all the trouble, but like she is stepping outside of their barriers. There's nobody else even over there on that side of the, like when they pan the camera, like there's nobody even over there talking to these guys. Like the rest of the pro-Palestine protesters are like ignoring the whole thing, which is what people should do with the pro-Palestine protesters, but that's neither here nor there. But so like she's over there like yelling at them and stuff, and then she like comes on the other side of the barricade. You see the police officers that are telling her like, get back on your side of the barricade or there's nothing we can do for you. Like you left your safe space. Like it's on you. Yep. To get back. Like they're just trying to like keep the peace, it was, the whole thing was crazy. Crazy and also awesome. And like, oh my God, look how racist these guys are, making acting like a monkey. Like they're chimping out and acting like idiots. It's not like I bet you it didn't matter what color the person was that walked over there to talk shit to them. They're going to do the same fucking thing.
Yeah. They're just trying to be inflammatory and, they're trying to rustle. Yeah. I don't know if you remember the rustling Jimmy's meme from a few years ago.
The Lizzo chants were pretty good, though.
That was hilarious, dude. Lizzo, Liz. I mean, she did look like Lizzo. But, there definitely was like a big no man's land. Like you think back to like World War I, you'd got the Allies and the Axis on one side, and there's the big no man's land in the middle. And she was like way up on the other side, she's like, you're asking to get shot. I mean, not in a literal sense. You're asking to get shot with maybe like someone's going to throw a White Claw at you or something. But yeah, so this whole thing, the reason I brought up October 7th is I kind of feel like since day one of, since October 7th and October 8th, the Zionist like IPAC crowd, I feel like they've been fumbling the ball constantly throughout this entire thing, and now that it doesn't seem to be going their way, it seems like they're calling in the white European dragon slayer to slay the woke dragon to put the kibosh on all this pro-Palestinian protesting. You know what I'm saying? It's like we need something. We need to do something. Let's call in the whiteys. And there's a lot of talk amongst our friend group online and a lot of dissident right wing type people. That's like, is this all an op? You know what I mean? And big surprise, anytime anything happens, it's is this an op? This is an op. He's a Fed. It's all the time. It's nothing ever happens.
Everything is always an op, and it's the everything is fake until it's proven gay or whatever. Like it, and you can always, if you're looking for the op, you can always dig deep enough to find enough evidence to convince yourself and other people that this is definitely an op. This is everybody's astroturfed. It's all fake. None of it's real. Nothing's organic. Everything's planned. And yes, a lot of times,
kind of.
I mean, it's not inaccurate, especially where political and like socioeconomic type of scenarios are involved, especially if it has like a high consequence, if it's something that's going to be like that could go viral or be really mainstream. There's probably a better chance than not that it's been that the books have been cooked in some way for whatever said thing is. But
yeah,
this I think we'll get more into it. I think this is just a little bit different.
It's a little different, I think that, like you were saying, in all of anything that happens in this kind of area, I do suspect that there is just a little seed of fakeness and gayness in there, but I just don't believe that everything that happens inside of these issues, these events is fabricated, is inauthentic. I think that sometimes there are real people out there and sometimes they react to things in real ways. And I think the biggest thing that I want to hammer home with this is that just because it's inauthentic and it's fabricated doesn't mean that this is going to pan out the way that they wanted it to. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what I'm hoping for. That's I want to get into these young fellas' ears and be like, you don't have to do everything they tell you to, let's, if they give us this opportunity to slay the woke dragon, like the based European dragon slayers that we are, then let's do that. Let's kill the woke dragon. But when they try to return it back on us, we don't have to do that. We can be like, no, this is not how it's going to go anymore. And that's just kind of what I'm hoping for. But I don't know. It's take
their money, take everything that they're going to give you, do the thing that you wanted to do anyway. And then whenever they're like, okay, now you get to return the favor, be like, that wasn't part of the original arrangement. Like you said, you were going to give us this stuff. Nobody signed a contract that said this is an IOU. Like you gave us this. That's on you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's like, they're going to tell us, I got to get my salt gun, man. I had my door open and I got flies buzzing around here. It's fucking annoying. But, it's like, they're going to tell us now, it's like, oh, you guys can be a little racist, like you can say some stuff. You can chant Lizzo at this big fat black lady. That's not a big deal. You can make monkey noises. It's not that big of a deal. We're defending Israel. You gotta pull out the stops. And like they're telling us it's okay now. And if this goes down the way that they want it to, the Zionist crowd, and we beat these protests down, when they try to turn it back on us, it's like when they try to turn it back on us and call us anti-Semitic for not wanting to support them, it's just like, I don't care. It's like, I've been thinking a lot about that scene in The Dark Knight Rises, where that Daggett, the other billionaire who's trying to swindle Bruce Wayne out of his company, he thinks he's using Bane, but Bane is really using him. And Bane's, he's like, I've given you millions of dollars. And Bane says, and you think this gives you power over me? It's like, no, you don't have any power, man. It's like, you have whatever power we imagine that you have, and we grant to you because we imagine you have it, but we can just stop imagining that you have it at any point in time, obviously, they are overrepresented in a lot of positions of power, but a lot of that is just it's fairy dust. As soon as we decide that we have power again, we have power again.
Well, and so like you went to the anti-Semitism and a lot of the stuff that we're in the process of tying this all back to is how these frat boys who are counter-protesting these pro-Palestine protests are doing the bidding of Israel. They're doing the bidding of the Zionists. They're all a bunch of Jews. Talking about the anti-Semitism thing, the fraternity at UNC where they had that kid that Fox News interviewed, and the first thing he just comes straight out.
First and foremost.
Number one. As soon as this motherfucker comes on screen, I'm like, oh, that's a fucking Jew. Like, you can just see it in his face. Like, was anybody? And then she said his name, and it's like, oh fuck, you couldn't.
What was his name?
Oh,
was it like? I mean, Heim Steenberg.
Yeah, Mortimer something, or like it was like it was the most Jewy Jew name you've ever heard in your life. Like, really, dude? Like, your parents didn't pull any punches on that. They wanted everybody to know without a doubt. And then like comes straight out and he's like, first and foremost, I'm just here to support Israel. It's like, yeah, no shit, dude. Like, I knew that the second I saw your face. So that created all of this, it's a pro-Zionist, Jewish fraternity. Pi Kappa Phi is absolutely not a Jewish fraternity. As a matter of fact, just with a very quick Google search, there are multiple campuses across the country that have Pi Kappa Phi chapters that are currently under probationary status of some sort by the university for specifically targeting and harassing the actual Jewish fraternities on campus. Like, that's fucking insane. Even IU, the chapter at IU is currently on disciplinary something or other because they were going after the actual Jewish fraternities and bullying them and shit. Like, it's fucking hilarious. It is not a mutually exclusively Jewish fraternity. Like, okay, yeah, Zuckerberg was in the fraternity wherever the fuck it was he went to school, and they have. I mean, when you have a fraternity, you're going to have thousands of people. What does the Jews make up? 10 to 12% of the population, statistically.
If that.
Yeah. I mean, statistically, there's a chance that you're going to have some here and there. Like, it happens, and and a lot of times, as far as community building and stuff goes, a lot of times they go to school together and they know each other. And if one of them joins a fraternity, then a couple others are probably going to join a fraternity too. And that's just kind of how, that's how guys work in general, not just how the world works, but specifically that's how guys work. Like, if we have a friend who goes and joins a fraternity, then the odds are we're going to join the fraternity.
I want to know on that.
Yeah. It's, so they're going to group together in some ways. So there are things that can be read into it with the pro-Israel stuff, but also I do feel like there's something on college campuses with just frat boys that's very organic. And there's the saying, don't attribute to malice that which could be explained by ignorance. Like, these dudes are the definition of that. I was straight up I'm from bumfuck nowhere, hillbilly, redneck, farm boy, grew up playing sports, and I was in sports and frats all through college. That was my college experience, was basketball and frat life. There is not a whole lot of forethought or afterthought or really any brain power whatsoever that goes into 95% of what these dudes are doing.
For sure. Yeah, much like LeBron James, I did not go to college, so I don't have that much experience with the frats and whatnot. But I do have the experience of being a young man, and it's not from 15 up until, I mean, honestly, if I'm being perfectly honest, it lasted a little bit longer than it should have for me. I would say maybe up until my 30s. early 30s, I was like pure impulse. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, what feels good, man. Let's do that. So yeah, it's like a lot of this stuff. It's like it's almost like these people want me to believe that, George Soros or somebody sat all these college boys down and was like, all right, listen, this is what we're going to do. And just judging by the raucous events of those videos, that is not what was happening. Like it seems like it was seems like there was a lot of booze flowing. It seemed like those American flag overalls, that's not like a sober choice. That's not something you put on. You know what I mean?
So like I said earlier, and this is something that a lot of stuff got talked about in different chats and stuff, and all over Twitter and social media. Like, it's not hard to get some frat boys organized to go do something fucking stupid. Like I said before, it's finals week. Everybody's gearing up and getting ready for the summer. And like, so when I was in college, finals week was, if you don't have finals this day, you're at the bar as soon as it opens. You get us a table. And then as everybody finishes their finals, they come to the bar. And like, I was the dumbass who took like all morning classes. So I'm done with finals by 10 a.m. every day. So I'm at the bar as soon as it opens. I get a table and I'm drunk by 1 o'clock. And then everybody else is just like, flowing in throughout the rest of the day. And we'll sit there until 11 o'clock, midnight, whenever the bar closes down on a weeknight. And then we'll all roll home. But like, you're all together sitting there, and usually you'd be watching sports, but it's that time of year where there's not a whole lot on. You've got some college baseball going on. You've got some NBA playoffs starting, stuff like that. But, there's not a whole lot of really engaging sports that's going to be on all the TVs. But you've got college protests going on, and that stuff gets eyeballs. So
absolutely.
So now that's on the TVs at the bar. And then you get the counter-protest where you got all the bros huddled around the flag, like protecting it. And you got all these drunk dudes sitting in the bar like, oh, we could go do that tomorrow.
Oh shit, my fucking dog is barking. Hey, knock it off. Yeah, man. Like that, for sure. Like that's exactly kind of what I was talking about with the imagining that somebody's like giving these guys, like, do we really believe that somebody said to these guys, yes, protect the American flag? I just don't. It doesn't check out to me. It seems to me like young men in this country, and you might have a better insight into this than I do. I don't have kids, but it seems to me like young men in this country are starting to, if not wake up, like I don't know that saying wake up is the right thing because there's still a bunch of young men, but it seems like they're getting sick of a lot of this shit. You know what I mean? So it seems to me like these kind of reactions at the protests is what I've been calling them. It seems to me like that it's pretty genuine. It's like, fuck this, man. I'm sick of being told that I'm a racist. I'm sick of all this shit. So I'm going to make some monkey noises. I'm going to chimp out a little bit. I'm going to protect the American flag.
And especially with the demographic that we've seen in a lot of these counter protests, like the young white men, the young white boys. And so what's happened is, like, I was raised with the idea that if you work hard, you go to school, you get good grades, get a good job, like, as long as you're willing to put in the work and the time, you can do anything you want. And this young generation of white boys specifically had been told all of that by parents like me, who that was what we were raised in. And now they see that's not the case. It doesn't matter how hard you work. It doesn't matter what your grades are. It doesn't matter how good you are. What matters is, do you check all of the right boxes for the DEI test? And if you're a white male, you check literally none of them. So, like, what the fuck do you do? Like, and it creates kind of a, I don't want to call it like a doom-pilled, like, mentality for them, because they're not. I don't think that they are at all doomer pilled, but also it has programmed them to absolutely fucking hate everything because it's all geared against them. It doesn't matter what they do, they are not going to be good enough. So whenever they see an opportunity to just go fuck shit up, that's what they're going to do because that's the only outlet they have.
Let's go.
Right. What else are they going to do? So I talk about my son and all of his. I refer to him as my son and his dumbass friends because they are all just complete dumbasses. God
With love.
Yes. Yes. I could not call them dumbasses any more lovingly because they are the lovable dumbasses. They call themselves Nazis and they bully trannies and furries and they talk all this like crazy shit and they say racist stuff and they don't know why. They have no idea. They're doing it because it's the thing that they've been told they're not allowed to do. And they're like, and they just look at it all and they hate it. And so they're like, fuck this. You say we can't do that? We're going to do it anyway. We're going to do it twice as hard. And then, you know, if you come alongside them and you talk to them and you start explaining to them, well, you know, if you look at these times in history and things that were happening that really look a lot like things that are happening now, and then that led to certain movements rising up, and it's like, you know, they're like they soak that shit up. It's like it's telling them that all the things they thought they were doing just because they're dumbasses, they're actually doing for a legitimate reason and it's right. Like that gives them even more motivation to do it. Like we can point these kids in the right direction if you're willing to have conversations with them.
Yeah, absolutely. These young men, they might be dumbasses, but they are also, you know, they're getting to the age. Hopefully they're not like me and it lasts into their early 30s, but you know, they're getting to the age where this kind of stuff is going to have to start mattering to them, you know. They're going to start just naturally wanting to pay attention to this kind of stuff. These guys are in college and they're going to be graduating. They're going to be moving out into the world. They're going to be just naturally paying attention to politics, looking back at the effect of politics on history and seeing how that played out. And yeah, I just, you know, Matt Erickson has his podcast King Pilled, and they talk. They have this word goonery. Do you know that one? So it's a combination of gooner and eunuch. And for anyone in, you know, my audience might not know what I know what gooner is. Like I'm like the most terminally online person in my like internet sphere. You know, like I'm in that group chat with you, and a lot like all of those people know what a gooner is, but like. A lot of the people who watch my podcast who have like been brought in by my co-host who is like not very online, they probably don't know what a gooner is. So a gooner is a person who, you know, masturbates obsessively and watches porn. So it's so like I said, it's a combination of gooner and eunuch, and a eunuch we all know is a person who is, you know, chopped up down there. You know, so it's a combination of those things. And the description of it is like a person who identifies as right wing, but has made himself impotent through the, you know, parts of the ideology that he has taken on. And a lot of these people are goonics. Like they're like, oh, I'm so red pill trad based, but the Jews run everything and we're powerless against them. You know, it's like, what the fuck, man? I just, this idea that nothing that we can do will be successful because the Jays are just going to smash it is so fucking frustrating, man. And it's why even if these protests are not completely organic, which again, I'm willing to concede that they are not, I don't believe that we can't make something out of it. And I don't believe that these young men are, you know, taking their marching orders from Zionists. You know what I'm saying?
They're targeting the wrong crowd if they want to create their pro-Israel army. Another thing that gets maybe is misunderstood about these young men in this like 15 to 25 age bracket, they really like Kanye. I can't fucking explain it. They really like Kanye. And they saw what happened to Kanye. They saw what happened to Kanye. Like, they listen to Andrew Tate, whether they take all of it to heart or not. Like they're getting some of their shit from him, and that's where like people like us have to come along and be like, all right, look, like yes, but like let's you don't have to quite go that you don't have to be that much of an asshole. Like you can
and that you also shouldn't say that you would have sex with a good looking dude over an ugly woman. That's probably not a good move,
right. Enough beers, she'll look fine. Just you can power through it. It's let's not be making poor life choices. But they also listen to the Daily Wire, and so they get a lot of that stuff. But then whenever Shapiro starts moving in the direction that he does, where he gets like super pro-Israel, super Zionist, like that shit turns them off too. That's when they start listening to Brett Cooper and like Candace Owens. But now Candace Owens is gone. Like it's this weird. When my son and my daughter both got in the truck on the way to school one morning, and they both had separate like Daily Wire things pulled up on their phone, I was like, does your mom know you listen to does you watch the Daily Wire? Like, because my ex is now a lesbian. I was like, does your mom know that y'all like watch and listen to fucking Daily Wire? Like, she might take your phones away. And it's like, it's hilarious, but like and I didn't push that on them. I'm not a Shapiro fan. I'm never really been big on the Daily Wire. So like, I don't know where it came from. Right. Like that's what's weird about that. Cause their mom's a lesbian and I'm not super big on Shapiro. So like, where did my kids end up watching the fucking Daily Wire every day? So like this stuff is really interesting. So like the pro-Israel side of this, picking this like 15 to 25-year-old white male demographic to try to bring on as your next army that's going to like protect you here in America, that's a whiff, dude. Like that ain't gonna work out long term. Like when you were talking about earlier, like not sure whether or not they're making the right decisions on some of this stuff and how it's all gonna work out. Like that's like prime example of you have picked the wrong demographic. They love to be anti-Semitic. They fucking love it. Like it's amazing. Like I don't know what the logic is behind that. Like if I'm putting together, what's going to be my army to go out, I don't want to pick a bunch of people that actually like hate me.
Yeah. And even if they don't actually hate them, it's like they're comfortable with making them uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? It's like they'll make Hitler jokes, they'll make Nazi jokes. And even if it's like they don't hate these people based on, the nature of like where they come from in the world, where their ancestors came from in the world, they're kind of starting to see how things are really playing out and how things have been playing out over the course of the last 80 years. You know what I mean? And you were talking about your kids being fans of the Daily Wire. And the Daily Wire, to me, is another prime example of how the Zionist crowd has just been royally fucking up. The Daily Wire is, it's not original to me, but I frequently call it the Israeli Wire. It's like they are blatantly, openly pro-Israel, more so than they are pro-America, but then they bring in Candace Owens, who just blows the entire fucking thing up. And I honestly can't help but wonder how long people like Walsh and Knowles are going to be there. You know what I mean? Both of those guys seem to be playing their cards, a little bit safer than Candace did. But, I kind of expected that when all this happened, that both of them were just going to be like, I support Israel, but that's not the take from those guys. It's not like I agree with them on everything. I'm a pretty big Knowles fan. I'll cop to being a Knowles fan. Chelsea in the chat says that you kind of look like Matt Walsh. That's hilarious. But yeah, it's like their takes have not been what I kind of expected them to be. Like Knowles specifically says pretty much what I say about it. It's like, I don't really care. The only way that I care about what's happening in Palestine, Israel, is in how it affects us. I really don't care who comes out on top. I don't want to help either side. I have zero interest in sending money. I absolutely have zero interest in sending, the boys from the Brotest out to be boots on the ground. I mean, I don't really think that's where we're headed. A lot of people are kind of acting like that is where we're headed. I don't know. I don't really see it playing out that way. If these people are gauging like the temperature of the country, I think that they have to notice that that's not in the cards for us. I think remember when Obama tried to start that war with Syria and people were just like, not this time. We're not fucking interested. I kind of feel like that's going to be what happens here. And I'm kind of bummed out that it's taking this long with things like Ukraine. But that really has a lot less to do with the general opinion of the people and more to do with the snakes who are in politician, a lot of whom have dual citizenship, by the way. And I know that Ukraine is not Israel, but boy, there's a lot of tie-ins and crossovers, there's a lot of shared interest between those people,
So talking about the boots on the ground side of it and the pushback against like the Syria thing with Obama, the frat boy generation or age group, this like what I've referred to as like my son's age group, this 15 to 25, they're not signing up for the military. They saw the dude with like the furry mask. They've seen all of the pro tranny stuff. They've seen how the military has taken on a position of favoring women. Like, it's the same as everything else. It doesn't benefit them. It doesn't benefit them to join the military. And also, they saw the way that the Afghanistan pullout and a lot of other stuff that's happened over the last 5 years. They've seen all of that stuff too. And that's just not something that interests them. They're definitely not going to fight for another country. Like if they thought, God forbid, but if we got 9/11 2.0 on American soil, then yeah, every one of them would sign up and they'd be ready to fucking rock and roll. But if you're telling them they're going to go fight for Ukraine or they're going to go fight for Israel or they're going to go fight for like literally anybody that's not the red, white, and blue, they're going to give you a big fuck you. Thank you. Yeah, they're not interested. And honestly, you're younger than I am, so like
how old are you? Like what age range?
I'm 40.
Okay, I'm not that much younger than you. I'm 37. I'm about to be 38. Well,
okay, so our like general age bracket, I don't know that there was a whole lot of like really excited about the military for our age group. I didn't join. I remember taking the ASVAB and me and a buddy both got recruited by Air Force recruiters. I scored like a 97 and he scored a 95, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, we got to get y'all in," and we're both like, yeah, we're not joining the fucking military. Like,
go fuck yourself.
March and do bullshit. Like, hard pass. We were more interested in going to college and being frat boys and being stupid. Like, there wasn't a huge interest in that until 9/11, and then it flipped. And everybody's like, and everybody in our age range that looks like us is like, fuck yeah, we're gonna go fuck up these terrorists. We're gonna glass the whole fucking Middle East. They're gonna pay for what they did. Mm-hmm. And they've been able to ride that for a while, but then they fumbled it. They botched the pullouts. They botched everything involved with like just staying over there too long and rolling it over to somewhere else, to why the fuck are we even doing this at all? And people in what is their target demographic lost interest and got disenfranchised with the whole thing. And now you're seeing that come to like full fruition, where this next generation of young white boys does not fucking care. So they have to go recruit anywhere and everywhere else that they can. And they're not pulling from what are their strongest demographics, so they can't make recruiting numbers. Like it's and they're having to like add all of this bullshit to get more women in, to get more black kids in. Like it's just they're not building a strong army because their core base has basically said fuck you.
Yeah. I think another thing that people noticed, you remember it was maybe a couple months ago when this stuff, maybe it was just a few months after October 7th. The Army, I think it was, released that commercial. And before, it was all black ladies, it was all Hispanic ladies in the commercials, talking about, I'm looking to advance my life, blah, 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 blah. And then when it looks like we might be going to some shit, there's magically white boys in the commercials again, and I think people notice that kind of stuff. And it's a problem, it is not, they're not making a good case for themselves, for us to help them.
They have, it's a shitty marketing campaign. So remember, a little over a year ago, Bud Light had all of their bullshit with the Dylan Mulvaney thing, and it goes in the fucking tank. And then fast forward to like football season, and now you've got these like blatantly over the top, like, white country folks at a picnic.
Shane Gillis, baby.
Yeah. Like, and everybody saw that and they're like, no, double fuck you. Like, not only did you betray us with the Dylan Mulvaney thing, but now you're coming back and you're pandering this hard that it almost seems like a fucking farce, like that you swung back too hard on it, and then everybody was like, yeah, double fuck you. Like now it feels like you're making fun of us. So like, and then over the course of the next 4 to 6 months, Bud Light kind of figured out their branding a little bit better, and they've dialed it back, and they've kind of gotten it right. But that's how the Army thing was. Like, they spent so long just pushing all the DEI shit and couldn't make their numbers, and then they just swing back too hard, and it's like, look, nothing but white boys. And then everybody's like, no, like this is clearly you trying to say we're sorry, but like, it's the abusive husband thing. Like, you're still gonna keep fucking hitting us. It doesn't matter if you tell us you're sorry. Like, this is not, we're not buying.
For sure. You're not invited to White Boy Summer. You're out. Your invite has been rescinded. I completely agree with you. I think just to kind of go back to the Daily Wire, I think that a lot of their, like the stuff with Candace and how they came off with like, it's like, oh, she's got an opinion that is different to the prevailing opinion of the people who run the Daily Wire. And because of that, she gets run off, it just doesn't look fair. I hate the word fair. I think it's a pretty gay word in general, but it does, that kind of stuff plays on people's mind and conscience. It's like, oh, somebody says something that I like slightly agree with, and they get run out of the company, and I think that in doing that kind of stuff, they're kind of running people into the arms of another person that I wanted to talk about, because he just got reinstated back onto X, and it seems like interesting timing. I don't know that it's like orchestrated. See, this is the thing. It's like Nick Fuentes being reinstated on X right now. A lot of people are like, oh, it's an op. He's a Fed. Of fucking course they're saying that. Everybody's a fucking Fed. But honestly, man, if I could like set up a loudspeaker kind of like they did in Waco and, at those protests, and just like, did you see the clip of Nick Fuentes talking about this stuff? Yeah, it's like, let's just play that for the boys. Let's like let them watch that on repeat so that they can hear, like a lot of these people who are saying that Fuentes is an op, like, what problem do you have with what he laid out in that video clip? Like, I don't really see much of a problem with it. It's like he's saying exactly the kind of thing that I'm thinking, and exactly the kind of thing that I want to be disseminated out to these young men,
And the interesting thing with that, especially with these young men, is if you can remove the message from, and they just hear the message and they don't, like, that's the thing that they hear some of this stuff enough about how somebody's a Fed, somebody's an op, somebody's all of these things, and they may not tune into it as much, especially if they think somebody's a Fed or something like that. Like they have an instinctive kind of like what we've talked about with our in group, seeing everything as an op to an extent and not trusting it. They have that. Like they already don't trust everything because they've seen everything be turned against them for like literally their entire lives. So they already don't trust anything. So if they hear that somebody's a Fed or some bullshit like that, they're more prone to tune it out. But if you can just like play the message and they just hear the words and they don't like have it connected to the name, they're a lot more likely to pick up on it and be like, yeah, like this is the right shit. And then it's like playing different types of people saying really like base shit, and then it's like, guess who said that? And they're like, no.
yeah.
It's one of those things. Like, so if you can just get them the message, that goes a long way.
I do think that the idea that Fuentes is an op, I do kind of have a hard time buying into it, because that guy, they've been making his life fucking hard over the last few years. It's not like everything is going that guy's way. And I do agree with you that a lot of time when the establishment puts that Fed stink on someone, it is off-putting to a lot of people. But I kind of think that for a lot of young men, it's not working with Fuentes. Like a lot of these guys seem to like really like Nick Fuentes. Young men seem to buy into the messaging of Nick Fuentes
because he's saying the shit they want to hear.
Yeah, for sure.
So there is a certain extent to which they don't care. They are anti-establishment enough that they don't care if he's a fucking op. They don't care if he's a Fed. He's saying the shit they want to hear. That's what they need.
For sure.
That's as much of it as anything is they just need somebody to affirm that, hey, you're not like fucking crazy. Like, yes, the whole system's been rigged against you. Yes, like they're deliberately trying to, give these jobs to literally everybody else. Like, yes, you're wasting your time at college. The best use of your time is to just get drunk, party it up with your frat bros, and just do the bare minimum to get the fuck out, so that you've got the piece of paper that you can wave around and be like, what the fuck ever. Like, that's it. Like the rest of it is building yourself up with making friends and stuff like that, and making connections. That's another thing, that the connections thing. Like that's another thing that has kind of set these boys on edge. Is like you used to join a frat because of the connections that you can make. Like, yes, you're going to party and you're going to do all the shit and you get all the social events and all the stuff like that. But also there are like business professionals out there that this is going to make connections for you, where you can get into jobs that you might not otherwise have been able to. Like, it is an old boys club. And then they took all that away. So now the only thing that you have from your frat is the sense of fraternity. Like
it's the boys.
Yeah, that's it, because everything else, DEI and progressivism has stripped everything else away from them. So yeah, it's us against the world, and they're ready to fucking roll.
Yeah, they've taken something that was already very meaningful and a powerful drive on those guys. Like I said, the boys, and they've made it to where it's the only thing that matters. So now it's like even stronger. Those bonds are already hard to break, and now they've made it like basically impossible to break. I don't like, again, just to go back to what we were saying before, I don't see a lot of these young brotesters being out there willing to die for Israel. I just don't. It's not. I don't see it in the cards. And what I guess. One last thing that I kind of wanted to touch on, because I said we were going to try to keep it at around an hour. It's like, what can we do as the elders, which is fucking terrifying. I don't like thinking about myself as an elder, man. But what can we do? What's up?
My son says I'm more like a mean older brother than a dad a lot of times. And I like, okay, that's what your dumbass needs a lot of times. Like your mom coddles you and babies you, and that's cool. I'm here to like kick your ass and tell you you're being a dumbass. You
man.
You need that. And that's what we can do though. Like, so So I coached high school basketball for a couple years, me and a buddy, and holy shit, that was fun. It was. I ended up deciding to quit like just in the nick of time. My last season coaching was we wrapped up in February of 2020, and then COVID hit, and like the whole world changed. So and like everything was different with the way that all of that stuff got done for the next 2.5 years. So I'm kind of glad I dodged the bullet. But like I had gotten out because I was just like with my job at the time, kids getting older, stuff like that. I was burning the candle on both ends, and spending 5 nights a week doing basketball was it was getting to
A
be
bit much.
yeah.
Yep.
But with the time that I got to do that, like I got to build relationships with these boys that came up. Most of them when they started with us were like sophomores, and we got to see them through to graduating high school. And like that, that's really cool because we get to take these kids and develop them for 3 of the like formidable years of their lives, and also kind of shape them into the young men they're going to be going forward into college and into like the next stage of their life. And man, like you learned a lot from these kids. Like, yeah, there's not a whole lot going on upstairs. They are very instinctual. They're very reactive. Like, they're not putting a lot of forethought into things, and just to spend time with them on a daily basis, talking about, and not just talking about like basketball and stuff. We had road trips and everything else, and a lot of times some of the boys would ride in. I've got a big extended cab truck because I got a large family. I got to haul folks, so a bunch of the boys would ride with me to like away games and stuff, and I'd put on different podcasts, or I'd like just talk about random shit. And like we talk about history in the world, and we not just basketball. And they'd ask questions, and like they're interested in that stuff. They hear some of those things, and it gets what little bit of gray matter is up there to kind of start turning a little bit and trying to pick up on stuff. And it's fucking fun. And just like they just want somebody to pay attention to them. Like we've talked. I know you've seen the memes and stuff like. What's the one that it's like women saying something nice about dudes, and like you like just even from the cartoon character, you just see how lit up the dudes are from having something nice be said about them.
Yeah.
That's the way these young kids are. They just need somebody to affirm them and to not tell them you're the white fucking devil, you're the reason everything's wrong with the world. And just you give them that little smidge, and they'll cling to the rest of it. Like, and they want to. They want to.
Yeah, man. But
the thing is, you have to be proactive with it, and you have to go meet them where they are. Like, if you tell them, "Oh, look, I've got this 3-hour podcast about such and such thing that you should really hear," they will delete the link as soon as you send it to them. Like, they don't fucking care. They're not going to take the time. The only thing that I'll ever suggest to my son or any of his little friends is like something that's 15 minutes or less that they can just like digest on a car ride from their house into town. Like that's it. Because if it's longer than that, they don't fucking care. They're if it's longer than 15 minutes, they can run a match of Fortnite in that time. So like they don't care. You've got to figure out how to capture their interest the way that it can be captured. And more than anything, it's be there as a person. Like, leave the house, get offline, go do shit where they are, and that it'll mean a world to them. Also,
absolutely, yeah. You said that your son says that you're more like a mean older brother, and like I said, I don't have kids, but I am a mean older brother. That I actually have that going for me, And my brother. My youngest brother he's older than like your son. He's a little bit older than college age, but he's never really thought about these kind of things before. And I've been in his ear, just like, don't let them make you feel like you're like the devil just because you're white, hold them to the same standards. And if they call you racist, like who fucking cares? It doesn't matter. at this point we're getting to a place where, you know, they've already done about everything that they can do. You know, I just throw it back in their face. You know, like, I don't fucking care. And I think this thing that I've been like chewing on for the last few weeks is getting more involved in church communities. You know, like, I think that a lot of people talk about, you know, national elections don't matter as much as the election for your mayor or your sheriff. Your local elections are much more important. And I am thinking, like, what can we do that would be even smaller than that? And I mean, the first thing is the family. You know, it's like your family. Lead your family. You know, like you're doing with your son, being the mean older brother. You know, be an example, be involved in their lives. But I think another thing that we could do is try to reform these churches, man, because it's a fucking nightmare. You know, I go to a Lutheran church. It's an LCMS church, which is like the conservative branch of Lutheranism. Lutheranism, is that the right word? But you know, but even that, it's like, it's becoming, even the conservative branch is becoming a progressive nightmare. You know, it's just seeping into everywhere. I remember I saw you the other day talking about stuff that's going on in the Methodist church, the UMC, and it's not good. But I kind of think that it's going to be like the same deal. If we can get, if all of these based dudes on the internet would go get involved in the church, go to church every Sunday, go to the community events at the church, get on the board of your church, start making decisions, start doing things, and start being an example to the young men at your church. Like, that's just one way that I think that we could really try to make a difference, because, you know, doom scrolling and blackpilling and whining and bitching and saying everything is it's not going to work. You're just going to stay in the same position that you're in. And yeah, it's goonacry. It's oh, we don't have a chance. You know, let's just not do anything because we don't have a chance. And I you know, even if it's going to get me strung up eventually, I am not down for that. You know, I think I want to try to do some shit. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. And like, my dad and I were talking about some stuff that have been going on in their church back home. And like, first and foremost, the church is definitionally the community. It's not the building. It's the people who are doing this together. And yeah, if you go and be a part of that community and build that from there, those young men will get involved too. The most amazing thing about my parents' church, like my home church where I grew up, it was dead and dying for a long time. And they have started to really, it wasn't necessarily that it was dying because of progressivism. It was just like, it had become a very like normal thing. People weren't getting challenged. People weren't getting engaged. You went because that's what you do every Sunday, right? And the UMC started to do some things that pissed some of the elders of the church off, and they were like, "All right, we're going to start to kind of distance ourselves from some of that." And one of the first things they did was they're like, "We're not." So the UMC does like a pastor rotation. They like within the different parts of the country, they have pastors who go to different churches. Like, you spend 3 or 4, 6 years at the church, and then you move to a different church. Okay. And so they move them around, and they basically told their conference, we don't want to do that anymore. Like, we're not participating in that. And in order to do that, like, basically your church has to pay the salary of the pastor. It has to be an approved pastor that is one of the UMC pastors that also doesn't want to move. And like, instead of the conference paying a part of their salary, you just take the whole thing. So like, it's all technical bullshit. But they're like, we're not doing the rotation thing anymore. Like, we want this guy to be our preacher, and we're just going to keep him. And so that was like the first step. That is awesome. I love him to death. Like, he's a great pastor, and he started challenging people, and he started engaging them. And then young people in the community, like young people as in like my age, our age, like, you know, not my parents' age, started coming back to the church, and they started getting involved. And now they're the ones who are like 10 years or so younger that are also starting to bring their young families into the church and get involved. And as they see, like, my dad being a strong leader, and then like my brother and his group being strong leaders and active in the church, and now these younger ones are coming up, and their kids are getting baptized, and their kids are excited about the stuff that the church is doing. And it's like what was 20 years ago a dying church is now doing really, really good. Like, it's amazing what just a little bit of community building does to expand and to grow and to get, you know, to get your community more active and energized and engaged with each other. Like, even the people in the little tiny ass hole in the wall town that don't go to church there, anytime the church has functions and stuff, everybody's involved. Everybody's there. Like, that's how you build in the most important way, is right there at home. And yeah, I mean, you're right. Starting with the church is the best thing you could do.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm trying to do. You know, I'm just trying. I've been back in the Christian faith for about 2 years at this point. You know, I was an atheist for a long time. It's fucking cringe, you know. But I was for a long time, and then, you know, I started. You know, I was listening to a lot of Joe Rogan. I started doing some psychedelics, and that like opened my mind up to the idea that the world is not just matter. You know, it's more than that. And I don't really recommend the psychedelic stuff anymore, but that was a valuable lesson to learn from me. And then people like Jordan Peterson started creeping in and making me appreciate the biblical stories in a certain way. And that is not really the way in which I appreciate them anymore. I think that Jordan Peterson is off base in a lot of that stuff. I think that he hits the mark somewhat, but he's just like slightly off on some of it. He needs to go further, you know, and maybe he is, I don't know. But yeah, I think that you brought up Andrew Tate earlier, and I worry that somebody like Andrew Tate is going to be that Jordan Peterson figure for a lot of these people, for a lot of these young men. And we can't let that happen. You know, like that's bad news. So yeah, the best thing that I can think of is find a way, be it, you know, through the church, be it through being a basketball coach, being it, you know, through whatever means you could find a way to, you know, Jason Myronchuk talks a lot about Rene Girard and mimetic modeling. Be a mimetic model for these young men. Give them something that they can model themselves after. And I really think that that's, you know, that's the best way of going about it. And I think we just need to find creative ways to get that done, you know, hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't necessarily need to give them, you know, fame and fortune and all of that stuff. We don't have to offer them anything that's like super impressive. We just need to offer them like some affirmation and
a little bit of purpose might be good.
Right. That, man, like the number of times that you see a young man who, or, you know, a boy that you think, wow, he's really a fuck up. If you can just point them in the right direction, that whole being a fuck up thing goes away real quick. Like just a little bit of direction and purpose in life goes a long way for a young man.
For sure.
That's where we have to step in, is we got to step in and give them some direction and purpose, and then just watch how it works, because like nature kind of takes over from there, where we are kind of predispositioned and programmed to like take a thing and just do it as good as you fucking can. And like, we just got to give them the thing.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. Well, I don't want to keep, I know you got some business to attend to later in the day, so I don't want to keep you too long. I really appreciate you taking the time, and I really appreciate you stepping in and allowing us to do this on your channel, since, you know, I had the technical difficulties. So absolutely. Thank you very much, man.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Hopefully we can do something again soon.
Definitely. Have a good one, man.
You too.